Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. I don't tend to do New Year's resolutions because I'd probably say something like, oh, I'm going to try not to eat as much cheese, and that's not going to happen. But this year I did say that I was going to try to get better storage solutions for my copious amounts of miniatures. I tend to chuck miniatures wherever they will fit, and I really want to get a little bit more organised than that. And I had wanted to try out Feldherr products for a little while now, and this seemed like a good opportunity. So today we're going to look at a couple of their products. Now, Feldherr, I think board gamers will probably best know Feldherr for their range of board game inserts. They do inserts for a lot of different games, and most Games Workshop games, in fact. They make these pre-cut foam inserts that actually fit inside the box and will hold all of the cards, boards, and miniatures that come with that game. I don't really see the point in those myself. As soon as an expansion comes out, you need another foam storage solution. And so, yeah, I'm not sold on that idea. But Feldherr also make bags and these boxes. The bags didn't really appeal to me much because I don't do a lot of transporting of miniatures, but the boxes seemed like they are going to be something that would fit on my gaming shelf on their edge, and in fact they do, they fit perfectly. So I've grabbed a couple of these with various different types of foam inserts. They tend to be standard size boxes, and then you just choose what inserts you want inside them. Let's take a look inside this one. As you can see, it's got a little plastic handle for transport. And what I've done with this one, this is the medium-sized box, and it will store 100 miniatures and large vehicles or monsters. So it's basically got 2 levels of pre-cut foam and then 1 level of pluck foam, which you can actually pick out into shapes that you want. And I had a lot of trouble with that. I learned a lot plucking the foam for this box. So inside we have a top foam sheet, and then underneath we have the first tray of miniatures. At the moment I'm storing Castle Ravenloft stuff in here, and all of my bits that I'm in the process of painting for Castle Ravenloft and Dungeons and Dragons in general. So you can see there's some painted skeletons and things that I've done on the channel. We've got our heroes from our current Dungeons and Dragons campaign down here. We've got the Nothic that I made, the spiritual weapon, the necromancers that I painted up. We've got my Grick, which I made and showcased in a video recently, and a few other bits and pieces. You will notice that in amongst all the Dungeons and Dragons bits and pieces, there are 2 figures that are out of place. These gentlemen here, we have a cultist and a chaos guardsman. These inserts are for 25mm bases. These ones are 40mm, and these ones are just over 50. I kind of wish that they were all the slightly longer size. The longer size works well for things like, I've got this necromancer with the long staff. He fits in perfectly there. Some of the other ones are a little bit of a squeeze. I wouldn't recommend this size for a lot of Games Workshop stuff. As you can see, our 25mm guardsmen and cultists do fit. However, obviously anything on a base larger than 25mm isn't going to fit in there. But also, Games Workshop have a habit of making things very spiky and very dynamic, and with lots of sticky, outy, fragile bits. Here's an example of a different guardsman from Blackstone Fortress, and you can see that the dynamic pose means that he is going to struggle fitting in any of these spaces. He doesn't fit like that. The only way he will go in is to sit in here with his gun hanging over the top. That's not the end of the world, because obviously when you put your foam back on the top, he is protected, but it's not ideal. Also got this cultist with the Mahusive gun, and again we have the same sort of problem sticking out, and you'll notice that as the Games Workshop miniatures come in and out, quite often they will snag a little bit on the foam. You don't really get that problem with the Dungeons and Dragons stuff because it's the different material. They don't have the same level of fiddly detail, but it is something to be aware of with the Games Workshop stuff. And like I say, anything above 25mm, like our Chaos Beastman here, he's not going in there at all. You need one of the inserts with the bigger sized spacing. So the way that I purchased this one, we get 2 trays like that. See, underneath we have my Hidden Shame, my completely unpainted set of Wrath of Ashardalon stuff, plus a few bits and pieces from Legend of Drizzt, which I also haven't started painting yet. But what I've tried to do is I've tried to keep together most of the D&D stuff that I'm likely to use immediately at the moment, so it's all in one place. And then I've got my old storage solutions for other things. And then finally, at the bottom, we have the pick and pluck section. And you can see that I have been incredibly inefficient with the space here because I was just experimenting with it. You basically decide what kind of space you need, and then you pluck it out. It's actually sort of pre-scored so that you can pull it out. And then the underside is adhesive. You pull off the adhesive, and then you get another one of these to stick on the bottom. Obviously, I wanted this insert for the 3 big pieces from Drizzt, Ashardalon, and Castle Ravenloft. You will see that the demon from Drizzt sticks well above the level of the foam there. But because you've got foam going on top of foam going on top of foam, it's not really causing a problem, and it does still, the box does still close, even though that is well above the actual top of the foam. I realized as I was doing this, I did these 2 inserts first. A few things that I realized were a good idea was to leave more than one of these between them if you can, because they tend to start separating as you're plucking out the next one. But also, however much space you think you need for the miniature, pluck out a 1 row less and 1 column less than you think you need. So if you think you need a 3x3 square, pluck out a 2x2 square first, because it's surprising how much space you don't need. I made this insert too big originally and this insert a bit too big originally, and had to actually stick rows of foam back in because I'm an idiot. But as you can see, I've actually not been very efficient with the space at all. But it was an experiment. I'm definitely going to get another box like this with another 2 rows for the smaller stuff and another pick and pluck, because I'm getting more Dungeons and Dragons games, and there's other large miniatures that need a home, and I will be much more efficient with my use this time. This makes me sad how much space I've left here, but it was a learning curve. It was something that I was experimenting with for the first time, and I learned a lot about me, went on a journey of self-discovery, realised that I'm very wasteful and a bit of an idiot. Here's my second box. As you can see, from the outside, it looks the same. But as I said when we were looking at the first box, a lot of Games Workshop stuff isn't going to fit into those sort of sizes. Anything beyond the 25mm base isn't going to fit. And in fact, some of the stuff that's on 25mm bases is going to be a bit of a squeeze. So I wanted to experiment because, like I say, this is Feldherr products are new to me. So I was just sort of picking products to see what they were, what I could do with them. So this second box is for large-based miniatures. As before, we have our foam layer on the top. Then we've got one layer of this slightly unusual size. These are basically 40mm at the bottom, 30mm at the top. They're about 55mm tall, and they are just right for larger Games Workshop miniatures. You see, I've been experimenting with my Blackstone Fortress a lot. We've got a Obsidius in there. He fits perfectly. But even so, you can see that he still has a potential to snag on the foam as he's going in. That's just a thing with Games Workshop miniatures. You need to be a bit careful. Don't just grab your miniature and pull them out of the foam. You may leave bits of your miniature in the foam. But obviously this is a good size. You're still not going to get your Chaos Ogrin or your Amble in this size. But all your Chaos Beastmen, your Negavolt Cultists, and in fact, you guys like this, you can drop these guys in there, and they are nice and safe. We get one layer like this, then we get two layers like this. So these trays have three different sizes. The ones here, we have this side and this side. Those are basically 50mm tall by 30mm wide. And then we have two rows of these long ones. These are 30mm by around about 75mm. And then we have the row in the middle, which is not quite square. I think it's like 50 by 45. And this is kind of like a catch-all type tray. You're going to be able to do, like with Blackstone Fortress, where you've got lots of different miniatures of different types. They're all going to find a home here. For example, we've got the Psychers, which are very tall. They fit in the long ones perfectly. Your Chaos Space Marines, they will quite happily fit in one of the smaller slots there. I've actually got the Spindle Drones in there. The Spindle Drones, of course, would actually fit in one of the smaller trays from my D&D box. We still have problems, though. This guy is a problem. This is the Firebrand Cultist from Escalation. His best bet is to fit in one of the squares and to sit with his fire resting outside the box. And then he's going to have the foam stacked on top of him again. It should be okay, but obviously it's not ideal. Really, he's a case where you might want to go for a pick and pluck tray just to be able to make sure you can sculpt a shape around him and give him a slightly better fit. But if you've got a tray like this, that's kind of the best you can do with him, really. And we can see down here Amelin, who she's a very fragile miniature with a very long gun. She is, again, a character who's going to fit in one of those long inserts there. So I'm probably going to stick all my Blackstone Fortress miniatures in this box, except for, of course, the Ogrin and the Amble, who do not fit. Overall, what do I think? I still think foam inserts for Games Workshop miniatures aren't always a good match. Like I say, Games Workshop miniatures have a tendency to snag, and if they snag and then you pull them out the tray, you might leave a bit of the miniature behind. That's more of a concern, really, I think, with resin miniatures. They're a bit more fragile than the plastic ones. A tray like this is great for metal miniatures. Painted metal miniatures, I tend to find that plastic painted miniatures don't shed their paint. Because they're quite lightweight, even if they jumble around and bang into other things, they don't have the tendency to flake. Metal miniatures do. So a tray like this for metal miniatures is fantastic. It's a really good idea. Overall, like I say, I'm probably going to get some more of these for my D&D stuff, and Maybe I'll get a few more, try a few more different types of insert, and try and finally get organised with what I'm doing. I like the idea of having boxes designated to specific games, specific product lines. At the moment, my stuff is a bit all over the place. I have one of the large hard case Games Workshop foam crates, and that's got Alien vs Predator in it, Doctor Who, Anima Tactics, bit of Games Workshop, whatever else I've got lying about. It's a bit of a jumble. It would be nice to be able to have these smaller, more compact crates on the shelf, labelled up for specific games, so I can just pull them out when I need them. I know I've got everything I need in that one place. But anyway, I guess that's it really. I hope you have found this little look at Feldherr products interesting. Like I say, these were completely new to me and I wasn't entirely sure what to expect. If you want some of these for yourself, you can get them from Element Games. Element Games is where I got mine from. There will be a link in the description below to Element Games. Do be aware that if you do use that link, it's an affiliate link for me, so that's a way of supporting the channel if you wish to do so. But thank you very much. If you have enjoyed the video, please consider pressing the like button. If you have really enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so, and hopefully I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.